Assalamu alaikum YouTube, this is Oni and today we will be starting a playthrough series of one of the greatest games ever created and one of my personal favorite games of all time, Diablo 1. Now this isn't going to be a completely true Diablo 1 experience because I will be playing the Beelzebub HD mod, and that is a pretty cool mod that completely changes the game and brings Diablo 1 back from 1997 into the modern age. It has a lot of quality of life changes and adds a lot of quests, items and stuff that makes Diablo a completely new experience almost, and it is really fun to play through. So without further ado, we're gonna get into that. Now you might see that the Diablo logo is being really looking really tiny on the screen. I'm gonna explain why that is in a moment. It has to do with the resolution. I'm sure you all understand that. So let's just get into it. Now as you can see, the multiplayer has been grayed out. In this mod there is no support for multiplayer, but there is another mod by the same developers of this mod where you can actually play multiplayer. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. As for installing the mod, all you need to have is your original Diablo installed, and then just go to their website, download the mod. It's called the Diablo 1 HD mod or the Beelzebub mod, and just copy the contents and paste it in your Diablo directory, and that's it. Easiest installation in the world of any mod, and you're good to go with a brand new experience of Diablo 1. So we're gonna start this game. Now one of the biggest things you're gonna notice right on the bat is right here in the character screen. I'm gonna delete this character. It's level 1, so we don't have to worry about him. Now one of the biggest changes, boom, you have 3 new extra classes. You have your warrior, rogue and sorcerer from the original Diablo, but then in this mod you have a brand new character of barbarian, necromancer and assassin. The barbarian is Arnold Schwarzenegger. For some reason he's a really tanky character, obviously like the barbarian, and he has all those cool asset and skill sets from Diablo 2 and stuff like that. Necromancer is Sean Bean. He dies everywhere, so I think it's only natural that Sean Bean would be a necromancer. He keeps coming back to life just to die again. And then you have your assassin. Now all these 3 characters have their own skill sets and their own skills, so it's pretty awesome. They're completely new characters apart from in appearance. As far as the appearance is concerned, the assassin is basically the rogue's model with black clothes and paler skin. The necromancer is the same as sorcerer, he has a blue coat. And the barbarian is the same as warrior, with the major difference being the barbarian starts the game with an axe, while the warrior starts the game with his classic shield and sword. But for this playthrough we're gonna go with the warrior because he's my favorite class in Diablo 1 and he was the first guy I ever played Diablo with. So he's my main man and he's such a perfect balance between the magic user and a melee fighter. So we're just gonna go with that, name him the greatest name of all time. Now check that out, what a great canvas. Now I have to mention first that in this first initial video I'm just gonna give an introduction to the mod. We're gonna walk around town, get acquainted with the locals, and then we're just gonna enter the labyrinth, and that would be it. In the next videos of this series, we're actually gonna go on our questing journey to defeat the Lord of Terror. So first you get the Diablo help mod, pop-up. We're all Diablo players, we know what these buttons do, so we don't need that. Now before we get into the town strolling, let's just take a quick look at what's changed. Obviously a huge resolution, and then you have this mini compact toolbar which is really cool looking. In the original this toolbar covered the entire bottom screen of Diablo 1, but in this it's really compact and easy to look at. It has a couple of buttons. You have your character sheet completely redesigned. It has 4 extra tabs, attack, defense, magic. You can have quick glances at those if you're interested in those sort of things. You have your skills tab. Really sad that they actually went and didn't add skills in Diablo 2, but this was a really cool mechanic. Now as you can see, there are 4 other empty slots in the skill sheet, so maybe we will be coming across a couple of other skills. One skill that I know that it is in the game is called crafting. Yes, there is actually crafting in Diablo 1 right now. So there are extra 4 buttons. Here's your bar, the potion bar, that classic music kicking in. You have your auto map. You actually have a map of Tristram now. I don't know why you need that, but hey, it is there if you want it. Then you have your quest log. You have your crafting button, but you can't craft right now because we're like really low level. And then you have two buttons that are for like multiplayer stuff. You can send messages, it appears over there. And then you have your team hotkey, and it shows the people you're playing with. Then you have your inventory. It's pretty much the same as Diablo 1, with one major difference being you can actually like equip 2 sets of weapons now, just like in Diablo 2. So let's just go and equip this. Cool. And then you have your spells tab. Now as you can see, I have no spells right now, but there are like 6 pages, a lot of spells that we will be coming across. One of the really cool aspects of Diablo 1 that I always enjoyed was that any character could learn almost all of the spells that you could find in the game. The most high level spells were only available to the sorcerer, I think, like the blood star or something, but apart from that, most of the things anybody can learn. That was really realistic, that you find spell books and you learn your spells. So yeah, pretty cool. And then finally, one of the biggest additions in this whole mod, is the quality of life changes, is this button right here. This says game settings hotkey, being the G key. Now in here you can change some cool settings, like combat info text. It shows how much you're hitting, how much the enemies hitting back, stuff like that. Screen shake effects, movies on and off, all stuff like that. But the most important among all of these is this town walk increase. Now in the Diablo 1 original game, the town walk speed was horrendous, like especially if you had to like travel a large way. Adria, basically, if you had to go to Adria, it took you like 11 years, so that became a drag real fast. But in this, the mods have actually added the functionality that you can actually increase your walking speed. So I just turned it up to 60, and like you can obviously see the difference. If I turn it all up to 100, it's practically running. Speaking of quality of life changes, as you can see, Ogden has this exclamation mark on him, and that means that any character that has this exclamation mark is about ready to give you a quest. So that you don't have to go on talking to everyone in town if that's not your thing to get a quest. See, this guy also have an exclamation mark. Then you have your waypoint. Diablo 1 HD mod doesn't have that whole function of Diablo 1 original where you just hit escape and save anywhere you want. It has the same functionality as Diablo 2. You exit the game, it saves, and then if you want to access your locations you've already gone to, you either have your waypoint and stuff like that. And Vert here has been like shifted from all the way over there behind those, I would say, mountains or hills, whatever these are, and he's been put right here. So that is a good thing. Of all, like, whatever, man, at least you don't have to go all the way over there just to be disappointed by this jerk. Yeah, get lost, man. Now it is really interesting and funny to me that they actually put the Vert right behind this tree, especially if you know his character from Diablo 1. He is supposed to have a crush on Jillian, so it's pretty funny that they put him over here hiding behind a tree, where he is kind of stalking her. Okay, the funny just went way out of that whole situation. Creepy bastard. Anyway, you have your private stash just like in Diablo 1 too, and there's actually stuff in there but it's empty, and you have a lot of tabs. You can put a lot of stuff in this, and this really comes in handy. Like I said, this game has a lot of new items that you can find, weapons, armors, everything, so you're gonna need all that space. And then you have your this trade stash. Now some aesthetics. As you can see, this guy over here, check this out. Griswold is actually walking all the way from his blacksmith, what do you call that, shop, to Pepin. Now this is a really cool thing, but sadly only Griswold and Ogden are the two characters who the mods have animated. I don't know how they did that, but these two are actually animated and they walk around town, and like it really builds the immersion of the game. Then you have this new NPC. He isn't basically a new NPC, he's just Geeth from Diablo 2, and it's really cool to see Geeth in the olden days. So the sad part is, but he doesn't have any like lines of dialogue, and he only like gives you trading options. You can actually buy stuff from him, or you have your classic option of gambling. Now Vert was supposed to be the original gambling mechanic of Diablo 1, so having Geeth here, I don't know how that's gonna work too much. The difference being, but in Geed, you can actually like see the items, like the visual representation of the item on what you're gonna gamble on. Like if I wanna gamble on this cloak, I'm gonna gamble on this cloak. If I wanna gamble on this mace club, I'm gonna gamble on those. The problem with Word is you don't even know what he has. Like he might have a, you want a weapon and you go to him and you actually are stupid enough to click this button and you might have end up having a ring. So Word is a lot of chance and luck, while Geed is actually gives you some semblance of control by actually showing on what you are betting. Now speaking of new characters, you can check this out. This is Termaine the Priest. Now for those of you who are actually up on their Diablo lore, they might know that Termaine the Priest was actually a character that was cut from the Diablo 1 original release all those years ago, due to time constraint or some other reason. I don't know why exactly. Now Termaine was supposed to be a really important character in the game who actually gave you a couple of quests. He was like going to be the equivalent of either Pippin or Cain, and I think I read somewhere, I am not too sure, don't quote me on that, but I think I read somewhere that Termaine was actually supposed to heal you if you talk to him, just like you do with Pippin. So it's really cool that the mods added him, but the sad thing, similar with Geed, is that Termaine has only one line of good dialogue. And that's pretty sad because it just breaks kind of the immersion. But I do think that the quest that he is supposed to give you of exorcising a demon is still in the game, and you have to go into one of, it's either this house or this house, in which you go and complete that quest of exorcising a demon from the house. Now I want to say that Nestor the Freak, who used to stand here in Diablo Hellfire, is supposed to be the alternative version of Termaine, because he gives you a similar quest in which you go in a house and do all that stuff, but who cares about like Hellfire? Though I do wish that if they were going to make all this effort to make a huge mod, I wish they would have added that monk character. That would have been pretty cool. And lastly, speaking of new characters, we actually have 3 new cows. You have Erica, Bessie, and Klazina. These 3 pretty much make a huge family of cows to our already existing cows of Buttercup, Daisy, and Betsy, and Wifa. What the hell kind of name is that? Okay, whatever. And last but not least, there's my main girl. Well, Jillian's my main girl, but hey, I've always enjoyed Adria's company. And just hearing Adria say those classic like line, man, it just like takes me right back, man. It just hit me all with all that nostalgia, you know what I'm saying? And seeing all that, it's pretty sad what they did with Adria in Diablo 3. Now the way they handled her character, the way they gave her that generic He-Man type villain story, it was really sad. Adria was one of the most mysterious and interesting characters in Diablo 1. You didn't really know about her. Every guy who talked to in the town, they didn't have any clue about who Adria was and what she was doing. But this woman, even though she is a witch, she never had anything bad to say about you or them. So it was pretty interesting. But hey, Diablo 3 happened, and Jay Wilson thought that he knew better, and we all know what that happened. But you know what? I don't blame Diablo 3 entirely for the story of butchering the entire lore of Diablo, the franchise. I blame the Sin War novels, but we will get to that some other time maybe, or maybe in this video further down the line. First, I want to mention one thing. Now, as you can see, I'm playing it at a pretty big and awesome looking resolution, and believe it or not, this game is actually running at a 60 frames per second right now. I'm just gonna like adjust the speed a little to be kind of immersive. Okay, so we're gonna go and first see the options available to us. Now in the sound options, pretty basic generic options. You have your global music, global sound, you know, you can turn down the music and sound, whatever. Then you have your video options. Now these are really interesting. You have your classic gamma option, your zoom options. Frames per second, you can actually set that. I don't know why would you want to like play it anything in less than 60 frames per second. It's a pretty old game, doesn't require a lot of RAM or GPU. compared to now. But if you want to like purer Diablo 1 experience, maybe you can like put that down according to your needs if you want that jittery experience. And then you have your resolutions. Now there are a lot of resolutions that you can choose from in this game according to your need. Whatever you want, it's probably here. There are two concerns. There aren't like two concerns, but there are a couple of concerns that I have with playing in the game. Though they're not concerns, I just want to mention some things. You might say that. Now what I want to mention is, look at this huge canvas. You can actually see the entire town of Tristram, and it really brings that whole like really cool feeling to me that you can play Diablo 1 in such an HD version. But the problem is, in this screen resolution, our characters are really small, and when you're down in the labyrinth is a really dark and scary place with a lot of monsters, and if you get ganged up on monsters in this resolution, it is pretty hard to see where your character is. So one thing is that. The second thing is, enemies such as the smaller enemies such as those scavenger rats, I think they're called, you don't have too much click accuracy in this big of a resolution. Even on skeletons or zombies or bigger enemies, it's pretty hard to have a like accurate click if they're coming to you or they're in motion, like walking up to you or something, and you might end up clicking here and there a couple of times before actually landing a hit on them, unless you like pinpoint it and then start clicking. But to remedy that, the developers were kind enough to add the option of zoom that we just saw in the options menu. You can just use your wheel mouse button to zoom into the game. Now this is really beneficial to a guy like me who wants to have the best of both worlds. Like, I want to play in this resolution too, but I don't want to like get ganged up on the labyrinth when I'm in the labyrinth. So when I'm in the labyrinth, I just go and zoom to a comfortable location where I know it's gonna make no difference. And then when I'm in town, I just zoom out and enjoy the scenery. So I recommend, if you play this game, do that. It'll make you a better experience. And by zooming, is Kane wearing a hat? Never noticed that. Okay, so with that said, we met everybody, we saw everybody, the changes in towns. I think it is time that we venture down into the labyrinth and start on our destiny. Oh shit, Blizzard owns... No. Yeah, whatever, man. Activision owns Destiny. Destiny is now in the Blizzard launchers and whatever, man. So, I think before we start, this is a good opportunity for me to get a little bit of information about why I hate the story of Diablo 3 in particular, and why I think the Sin War novels actually ruined Diablo, the entire lore of Diablo. Now, I am a big fan, and one of the biggest things that I loved about this game was that when you start your game, you start out right here outside this house. You're a nobody, okay? You only have your determination in your heart, the sword in your hand, and the sweat on your brow. And you're going up against the Lord of Terror, one of the prime evils of hell. A really human underdog story of human perseverance standing up against huge insurmountable odds and actually coming out on top in the end. It really like pumps you up, and you want to like put the effort in to like go the distance, you know. But similarly, in Diablo 3, you're a Nephilim, you're a like semi-demigod, you have all these skills, you're like blowing demons and angels alike out of places that nobody knew even existed, and that just doesn't like feels fit with the Diablo formula to me, like at least. Diablo was supposed to be always this horror, really gothic experience, I would say a mature experience. And though I am a bit salty about Diablo 2 still, of taking the story entirely into a fantasy setting, it didn't do too much of a damage than what Diablo 3 and the Sin War trilogy did. But that's just my opinion. Like, for example, I'm just gonna tell you here, you are this nobody, okay? You have no backstory, unlike in Diablo 3. like you're a Nephilim, you're on a mission, you're doing something, you have complete like backstories, you are like semi demigod, whatever. No, in this game, that's your introduction to the entire universe of Diablo. Those first 4 words that's going, it just implies that you used to live here and then you returned and Ogden knows you for some reason, or maybe you stayed at his inn sometimes and you were friendly with him, and that's it. Like nothing else is given to you. You're just this regular human being who waves his sword. He doesn't have like mad skills or like projecting horses out of his ass to take down demons. No, you're just a human being on a quest to defeat one of the prime evils of hell. And that story is just, it's so elegant in its simplicity. Anyway, okay, I think I'm gonna like end the video right around here. In this initial video, I just wanted to introduce this series and give you a like walk around town to show you all what you can expect in this game. Really cool things that weren't in Diablo 1, cut from Diablo 1, stuff like that. Last thing that I want to mention is that in Diablo 1, sometimes you got some quests, sometimes you didn't. Sometimes you got the Lurk quest, sometimes you got the Poison Water quest. In this game, you get everything. You're gonna get your ass kicked by the butcher on level 2, regardless of how many times you restart the game, or if you don't want that playthrough. You're getting each and everything, even the cut quests. So be on the lookout for that and be ready for that. We're just gonna talk to Kyle here. For some odd reason, I think this guy's name is Kyle, cause I think I read it in a book once. Who knows? Anyway, we're gonna go and talk to Kyle here.
Please, listen, your death will be avenged.
It will be. Right after I like level up to level 10 or 20, get a bunch of huge gear, and then go after Butcher, because I'm not getting my ass kicked so soon in the game. Okay. Well, I think that is the point that I'm going to end the video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like. If you didn't like it, obviously dislike. And if you like supporting the channel, please do consider subscribing. It really helps me out, and push that notification icon so you can be notified when I upload new videos on this series and all the other things that I do. Now for the videos of this series, I think I will be uploading them over the weekend. Every weekend from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll upload them on those 3 days or some of those 3 days. So we'll see how this works out. With that said, stay safe, stay cool. I'll see you in the next one. I'm gonna hang out with my girl Jillian here. I will be talking about her some more in the next video, just to emphasize how Diablo 3 ruined the story and the previous characters. But until next time, I've been Oni. Take care.